have the Browns schedule pulled up here, and I figured we'd go through the Browns first because I know how you feel about the Browns, but personally, I feel the Browns are going to be the hardest team to predict next year. And I feel like out of any other team in the NFL, we have no idea what to expect from Deshaun Watson. And it's really that, because if Deshaun Watson is 70 to 80% of himself, this team's going to be a Super Bowl contender. They have one of the best rosters in football, but also they are still the Cleveland Browns. So you're the one going through the schedule. What are your early expectations for the Browns? And when I say Cleveland Browns, what's the first thing that comes to your mind?
The biggest question mark in the AFC, because high end, they're the Super Bowl favorites.
Right.
Low end, they're one of the worst teams, or one of the dumbest franchises the last 30 years. And it's like, oh, it's the Browns. So I feel like the last 5-6 years, they've kind of shaken off this stupid Browns narrative. But at the same time, if I'm looking at this team front to front, I'm looking at the fact that they have the best running back in football. They have a great receiver core. They have a great offensive line. They have a really good defense. Their only real weakness is, I guess, is linebacker. Even their kicker's good. And then you have Deshaun Watson. It's all around Deshaun Watson. And what do I think Deshaun Watson will do? I think Deshaun Watson will turn things around. So I'm more optimistic of the Browns than some people are. So I have them being a playoff team.
You have them being a playoff team. Okay.
Yes.
All right, so that definitely gives me some hope for the Browns next year, because I do think their wide receiver core is going to be really good. And then what gives me hope too is the Jerry Jones owner for the Cowboys just said that we're probably not going to be adding DeAndre Hopkins into the wide receiver room. So if there's any team that he's going to take a discount to maybe play for, it's probably going to be with Deshaun Watson, because they helped each other's career a lot when Deshaun Watson was coming into the league, and then DeAndre Hopkins finally had a really good quarterback. So without further ado, let's get right into it. We have a doozy. Week 1, the action gets started right away. Browns are at home versus the Cincinnati Bengals. Go.
I have to pick the Bengals here. I just feel like a team that has a couple of new pieces. You have a team that historically I got to pick the Bengals. It just makes sense here. And is this a primetime game, or is this just a 1 o'clock game?
It's a 1 o'clock game.
1 o'clock game. I'm going to pick the Bengals here. I think the Bengals will split with the Browns most likely.
Yeah.
But I think this is the game that the Bengals come out and take that win.
Yeah, my only trepidation is that the Browns have kind of kicked Joe Burrow's ass over the past few years, especially earlier in the season, but I definitely get the sentiment there. So gonna have them starting off 0-1. And then we go on the road, going to Pickett Town, see if TJ Watt is still healthy in week 2. We are on Monday Night Football at 8:15 versus the Steelers.
Okay. Well, you talked about how Joe Burrow gets his ass kicked by the Browns. Well, who gets their ass kicked more than the Browns against the Steelers? So I'm going to pick the Steelers to win this game here for that exact reason. The Browns are 9-38-1 since they came back in 1999 against the Steelers. So I have to pick the Steelers here. I don't think I'll ever pick them to beat the Steelers.
Okay, so we're 0-2 now. But don't worry, there's still hope. We are going back home for a 3-game homestand to start the year off. And we have Derrick Henry coming to town with the Tennessee Titans.
Win. That's the first win of the season. We did the Titans review. Check out the Titans schedule prediction. The Titans just don't have enough talent. And with the Browns, especially when they have a game that's almost a must win at this point after 2 losses in the division, I just don't see how they lose that game.
And then week 4, we have the newly paid Lamar Jackson with Odell Beckham Jr. by his side now. Mark Andrews and all those boys in the elite defense coming to town to face off against Deshaun Watson, Myles Garrett. We know the crew.
I think by then, this is when the Browns start to get some rhythm. The Ravens, really stout defense. This is going to be an ugly game. Dogfight. But I have the Browns prevailing. I think
tickets as low as 38.
I see them splitting here. I think they're going to split with the Ravens. I think they'll split with the Ravens and Bengals, and I don't think they're going to. I think they're going to lose both games against Steelers.
Okay, and then week 5 is our bye week. I don't love that.
No.
I feel like the week 5 bye is not a Super Bowl bye. Like I feel like if you're going to make a Super Bowl run, you really want your bye to be like between week 10 and 13.
Yeah.
So yeah, don't love that. But then we're still at home coming off a bye. We're now 2-2 going into week 6 versus the San Francisco 49ers.
I'm not going to bet them to beat the 49ers. I can't. Kyle Shanahan, I'd take him over Kevin Stefanski. Kevin Stefanski's a great coach, but by then, Brock Purdy will most likely be healthy. Their defense, that's when they start to gain some momentum. Give me the 49ers.
Okay. And then after our 3-game homestand, we are now going on the road for 2 games. And that starts out at 1 o'clock in Indianapolis. So not going too far away from Cleveland.
Win.
Win.
Got to see it. Again, with the Colts, a lot of question marks with Anthony Richardson. I think they'll start clunky, or this could be Gardner Minshew. I think they can contain the Colts.
Okay. And then we are going way up to Seattle after Indy to face off against Geno Smith and the new look Seattle Seahawks.
Is this a primetime game?
It's at 4:05.
Okay.
So no.
America's time. Oh, man. This is a tough one, but I'm going to pick the Seahawks here, but I do think this is going to be a good game for sure.
Okay. So we're 3-4 now, but don't worry because we're going back home to face one of the worst teams maybe in football history, Arizona Cardinals.
No, I got they got to win this game. If they lose this game, it's the downward spiral from the rest of the season. This is a must win.
Okay. So now we are 4-4 out of Q2, and then we are going on the road again to Baltimore.
So I had them splitting. So I had them winning the first game.
Yeah.
I have them losing. I think the Ravens will start to gain momentum towards the end of the season. I have them winning.
Okay. And then after that, we're going back home to face the Steelers.
No, they can't. The Steelers, there's something about it. It's like the Jets and the Patriots. It just doesn't happen. The Browns do not beat the Steelers ever. Ever. I don't know what it is. No matter how good their team is, I think their team roster-wise is probably better right now on paper. Just something about it.
Okay, so we're now 4-6 going into week 11, and we're facing off in Denver versus the Broncos.
Give me a win there. Their season's on the line, and I think that this is when they kind of have to make a run if they're going to make the playoffs.
Okay, and then we're going to LA to face the Rams.
Again, I think this is a game they have to win. Can see a potential out-coaching matchup with Sean McVay. I do like Kevin Stefanski a lot. Roster-wise, give me the Browns. So I'll pick the Browns to win that game.
Okay, so coming out of Q3 500, now we have to make that push for the playoffs. Now 6-6, but we're going back home to face off against the Jacksonville Jaguars.
Ooh. We did a schedule breakdown with them last time.
Yeah.
I remember us picking the Browns, if I'm not mistaken, because it's a weird season. This is where they start to get hot towards the end of the season. I have them beating the Jags. We did have the Jags potentially claiming the 1 seed. Check out our Jags preview. Yeah, I got the Browns here.
And then we are staying at home versus the Chicago Bears.
I think that's a win there. Better roster overall, better defense, offensive line, everything about it. I think Deshaun Watson will play at a higher level than Justin Fields. I got Deshaun Watson there.
And then we are going to Houston for a Deshaun Watson revenge game.
Look, if Deshaun Watson is as good as he used to be, this is going to be a bloodbath. I got to pick Deshaun Watson to win that game.
Okay. And then we are back at home versus the New York Jets. Both teams probably pushing for a playoff spot. This is going to be a huge game. This is going to matter a lot.
Honestly, what would I rather have in a pivotal moment? The Cleveland Browns or Aaron Rodgers?
Neither. Neither of them.
This is going to be a terrible game.
Also, it's in Cleveland, though, and Cleveland's defense is as good as the Jets.
It's going to be a hideous game.
Yeah.
I have a feeling this is a game they both want to lose. I'm going to have the Jets squeaking this one out.
The Jets?
Yeah.
Okay, so that could be the end of our playoff hopes because we're going to Cincinnati in a potential game for Cincinnati to either clinch a bye or for the Browns to clinch a playoff spot, or we could be tied. Who knows? Anything could happen with the Bengals.
So they lost week 1, so I think they win week 18.
You think they win week 18? So the Cleveland Browns will finish at 9-8. I don't know. You said you thought they'd make the playoffs before this. I don't think
it should be 10-7.
10-7.
because they'll win week 18.
Win week 18. Okay.
So they'll be 10-7, and that's exactly where I expect them to be. If they're, I would say between 8 and 10 wins is my expectation for them. If they play to their roster ability, they'll be 13-4. But I know it's the Cleveland Browns, so there's a level of error that you have to put in there. So give me the Browns. I think 10-7 is realistic.